Another year, another ESPN Top 100 NBA Players list. Today we're going to be looking at each Orlando Magic player that is on that list, as they are all the way down to the 11th best player in the NBA. And if you're wondering, that was Victor Wembanyama. But today we're going to be talking about just where exactly are the four players that were mentioned on that Top 100 list for the Orlando Magic. But first, guys, make sure that you subscribe to the channel and join the Orlando Magic community that we have here on YouTube. We're gearing up for the season. It is right around the corner. And also, hopefully everybody is safe from the hurricane. It's been about a week since I've uploaded, since I've been able to, make a video for you guys. But here we are. Everybody's safe and we're doing good. The Orlando Magic did cancel that last preseason game that they had against the Pelicans, but they'll be back in action in a couple days now, next Friday, back playing basketball, doing their thing. But okay, let's get into what this list looked like, and we're going to start with the highest ranked player, and you could probably guess exactly who it is. It is going to be Paolo Banchero. He was ranked at 24, right ahead of Kyrie Irving at 25. Last year he was 30th, and each player got a little blurb about why exactly they were ranked, where they were, or maybe some sort of expectations, any sort of descriptions. And for Paolo Banchero, 2 years ago, won Rookie of the Year and became the youngest player in NBA history to lead his team in scoring, rebounds, and assists. Last season, he made that next jump. He made his first All-Star game and helped the Magic get back into the postseason, leading Orlando to Game 7 against the Cleveland Cavaliers. This season, the East will be even more competitive, but the team has a high ceiling, so we will see exactly if Paolo Banchero's expectations for the year, as we heard during Media Day, will come to fruition. He says he wants to make the Eastern Conference Finals. Certainly, if the Orlando Magic made the Eastern Conference Finals, he would pretty much skyrocket up on this list. I would say he could probably be anywhere within the top 12 players. And we'll see tomorrow, I believe, who exactly is going to round out the rest of that list. But I'd say right now, he's in a pretty good spot. If you look at the players that are slotted from about like 19 to 33, most of them are pretty interchangeable. There would only be guys like Derek White, who was at 39, that I'd be like, whoa, pump the brakes now. He's even higher than a couple of guys, and we'll get into that a little later, like who should be higher and everything like that. But that would be a player or a type of player that I would get a little up in arms about, where shouldn't be above Paolo, right? So I think 24 right now is okay. I mean, Kyrie Irving just had an amazing postseason, and he was ranked right behind Paolo Banchero. So I'm not exactly going to be too cut up about this ranking, but I will say it is a very realistic spot for Paolo Banchero. Now, when we take a look at his numbers from last year, all these led the team. Now 23 points per game, 7 boards, 5 assists. We're looking for him to continue to increase that efficiency, because that was the huge part of his improvement last year. It was the efficiency, and it was the reason why the Orlando Magic won more games than they did in his rookie year, and it was the reason why they made it into the playoffs. So at the end of the day, I think when we're looking at Paolo Banchero, just for next year to rise, to go make a bigger jump than he did this past season, to go from 30 to 24 to 12 to 11 to 10 to even top 10, we're going to be looking at that efficiency and the Orlando Magic winning more games, because there's guys like Damian Lillard up there who's probably getting some more love from previous years. You even have Kawhi Leonard and Paul George and John Morant, guys who have been injured in the previous years, but their teams have won basketball games, well, more basketball games at least, than the Orlando Magic. That's, I think, how you climb up this list. Okay, let's take a look at some other players that we have. I think probably the biggest one that a lot of Magic fans are pointing out is Franz Wagner. Wagner was ranked a little lower than Paolo Banchero, and he came out on the very first day, the same rank as it was last year, number 52. Wagner been a cornerstone of the Magic's resurgence. 5 years, $224 million rookie contract extension in July. He had 7 30-point games last season and ranked in the top 10 in layups and dunks, according to Second Spectrum tracking. Now, the latter half of that description, the top 10 in layups and dunks, well, we're going to want to continue to see plenty of layups and dunks from Franz this year as he's trying to figure out his shot. I would say right now his stock is probably about at one of the lower points in his career, and it shouldn't be like that, because I do really believe he played very well in the Olympics. But we're looking at that shot. We're looking at how is he shooting in the preseason. That is going to determine how far he goes up this list. Now, I do want to say this list isn't the most important thing ever. It's just fun to look at, and it captures everybody's eye, their attention at this point in the year. But for Franz to continue to improve as a player, which you would think would directly correlate to this list, I mean, that's neither here nor there. It would be that shooting. Just in the same way for Paolo Banchero, the efficiency and the wins, he'll go up this list. Franz will as well. Now, obviously, cannot get enough of that Scotty Barnes and OG Anunoby talk when we're comparing Franz Wagner to the guys around him. But I think we'll just have to wait and see. He's a guy who you kind of were hoping to be a little higher on this list, but I think we all just have to realize his stock, truthfully, is not as high around the league as some other guys, their stock is currently. I mean, when we take a look at what he did last year, that 28% from three-point range is the most glaring thing. And I don't care if you want him above guys like Aaron Gordon, who's, very much a role player, at least for the Nuggets, but a very crucial role player. Julius Randle, even Evan Mobley, Kristaps, DeMar. I mean, you can make a case that he could be a little higher, but it might be in the same breath that Paolo Banchero could be interchanged anywhere from 19 to, his ranking last year at 30. Probably could say the same thing about the middle part of this list. They're weighing different things, weighing different roles of each player, and that is just something that you have to take into account when you look at a list like this. All right, let's take a look at, I think, probably the guy who is ranked the most, maybe, I think he's too high, but I think it's just the most unusual ranking out of the Orlando Magic players. That is going to be KCP. He was ranked at 62, and this is his description. Looking to boost the Magic's young core, Caldwell-Pope brings his championship experience and invaluable two-way play to Orlando. His departure from Denver will certainly be a blow for the 2023 NBA champs. Beyond the 10.4 points and 41.5% three-point shooting he averaged in his 2 seasons in Denver, his on-ball defense was invaluable to the Nuggets. Denver's loss is Orlando's gain, as KCP will have lessons to share with Paolo, Franz, and Jalen Suggs on how to win in the playoffs. Now, I think this is probably the most glaring point of they're very much valuing the winning, in a sense, for these individual player rankings. I don't agree with this. I think it's a little too high. He was above a guy like Chris Middleton. Middleton had a pretty darn good series against the Indiana Pacers. When he's out there and when he's healthy, his ceiling is pretty high, and he had a game where he looked, people were calling him Kobe Middleton. He was right under KCP, I believe, and that is not something that I necessarily agree with. I just don't know if KCP has that kind of ceiling to be ranked that high on the ESPN's top 100 NBA players. But obviously there are guys even higher that I don't know if they have that ceiling either. And one of them might be even Aaron Gordon, former Orlando Magic player. I'm not trying to hate on Aaron Gordon, but I'm just trying to name role players who I don't think would have, a 40 ball in a playoff game, or I'd be shocked if they did. But he came in ranked where, above a lot of different players, and I'm not going to sit here too much and bash it because he's certainly a big signing for the Orlando Magic, and we are hoping that he can thrust us into the second round and potentially the conference finals. So we'll have to see on that. But I think for the most part, as a little bit of a recap, a little bit of a summary before we get to Jalen Suggs, who was ranked in the 90s, I think so far it's been pretty decent. Like the Paolo ranking, Franz could be a little higher, but it's interchangeable. KCP a little high, but hey, they're giving the nod to the Orlando Magic. All right, let's take a look at where Jalen Suggs was ranked. Suggs was in the 90s. I believe he was 92. And this was his description. Suggs had a breakout year last year, averaging a career-high 12.6 points per game, shooting a career-best 39.7% from three, being named to the all-defensive second team. Perhaps most notably, he played in 75 games compared with 48 games his rookie season and 53 games in his sophomore campaign. But this season, Suggs is being asked to take on a more typical lead guard role as the Magic need someone to control the offense. So he could definitely end up rising because he's got that lead guard role. And excuse me, KCP was 62. I think that's why I was getting it mixed up. Jalen Suggs is at 95. I think that's probably right around where I would rank him last year. He wasn't ranked. Any guy, if you're averaging about 13 points per game. I'm not going to argue too much if you're supposed to go higher, but I definitely think that this could be a player that can go even higher up on this list, especially if he is that lead guard for the Orlando Magic. Let's say the Orlando Magic have a lot of regular season success. He makes first team all defense. So, ends up leading the team in assists, and, maybe his points stay the same or have an uptick. That's a guy who will rise on this list. But that's everything for the Orlando Magic and the ESPN Top 100 list. Let me know down in the comments what you agree with, what you disagree with, what is your biggest gripe maybe with the list as a whole, because there's plenty of irregular things that are going on in this list. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys next time with more Orlando Magic basketball content.